I've heard it said that being good at backpacking is the art of knowing what not to bring. That's coming up. Hey, what's up guys? Joe here with Backcountry Treks. On this channel, I talk all things backpacking, hiking, and camping. So if you're into that kind of thing, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any new content when it releases. So before I get started into telling you all the things that I think you shouldn't take with you on your first or next backpacking trip, just know that these are my own opinions based on my own experience. Gear is a very controversial subject. I'm not telling you not to bring these things. If it makes you feel better and you're willing to carry it, by all means, bring it. I'm just trying to give you some alternatives that can help lighten your load and just make packing for your trip more practical. All right, so let's get into this now with the first thing I want to mention and talk about today, and that is that you do not need expensive ultralight gear to go out into the backcountry and have a really great time. Although it can be nice to have ultralight, expensive pieces of gear depending on what it is that you're into, it's not necessary. When I started out, I had a cheap backpack. I had, I think, an Eno double nest hammock with a closed cell phone pad. And I want to say I used a blanket for my first trip. I didn't own a sleeping bag yet. So keep that in mind when you're getting into backpacking, that although it is nice to have, you absolutely don't need expensive ultralight gear. The next thing I want to talk about quickly is that you don't need hiking boots to go hiking or backpacking. I know that there is this myth out there that hiking boots provide all this great ankle support. I completely disagree with that statement unless they're a tall hiking boot, which I would like even less personally. As an alternative, I'm a huge fan of trail runners. A really popular one that I use and absolutely love are the Lone Peaks. This year I'm trying out the Olympus 4s and have really liked them so far. The advantage, in my opinion, to hiking shoes or trail runners over boots is that in the event they do get wet, which they probably will, they dry super fast. I have a lot more room in that shoe to allow my toes to splay out and not rub against each other. And my feet sweat a whole lot less. So with hiking boots, even if they're Gore-Tex or waterproof, whatever, my feet sweat a lot. And when my feet sweat, my boots get wet. When my boots get wet, they take forever to dry. So for me, it's trail runners all the way, and I ditch the hiking boots. All right, number 3 on the list is a huge medical kit. Again, this is just my opinion. Everyone has different views and opinions on this. I see people bring these huge medical kits with sometimes that have these snake venom extractors, giant rolls of medical tape, gall pads, just all this overkill and unnecessary stuff that you're really not going to need to go backpacking. Instead, what I do is take a few items from a larger medical kit, strip that down, and what I have in here is, I think I have 2 Neosporins, an antibacterial wipe, just a couple bandages, and then instead of bringing a whole giant roll of medical tape, I just take some Leukotape and wrap it around a little bottle that I've also repurposed and fill with a little bit of Dr. Bonner's soap. All right, moving right along, item number 4 is solar panels. I know some people like their solar panels. They keep them hanging off the back of their pack and they use that to recharge their phones or cameras or whatever it is that they need to recharge. I've had bad experiences with them in the past. They don't charge well if you're under heavy woods or somewhere where you're not getting a ton of sunlight. If it's cloudy out, whatever, you're not really getting a charge on that solar panel the way that you should be. So maybe there's a couple instances if you're hiking out an exposed environment for long periods of time, it may work well. But instead, I would recommend just bringing a 10,000 or 20,000 milliamp battery charger for your devices. It's a lot more reliable. It charges a lot quicker in my experience, and you'll get more charges out of it. And if you run into days on end where it's cloudy or rainy or you're under a heavy tree canopy, it doesn't matter, you're good to go. Number 5, don't bring a headlamp and a flashlight. Bring just a headlamp. If you have a battery powered headlamp, put fresh batteries in the headlamp before you leave. That way you don't also need to bring extra batteries, which adds weight. I have personally ditched the battery powered headlamp altogether and use an NU25 Night Core headlamp, I think it's called, that is rechargeable. I get a solid 3 long nights out of that before I need to recharge it. So the next thing I want to talk about is bringing too many clothes. I know I myself, when I was getting into backpacking, would pack all these what if and just in case items that I never really ended up using. Now, I do recommend bringing an extra pair of socks. It's really important to keep your feet healthy while you're on trail. So I like to bring 1, maybe 2 extra pairs of socks depending on the environment or conditions that you're going to be in, and 1 extra pair of, for me, ex officio boxer briefs. Another thing that I know people that bring typically that are newer to backpacking is deodorant. Trust me, you do not need deodorant when you're out on the trail. It adds unnecessary weight. You're gonna smell whether you use it or not. Everybody does. Nobody cares. All right, the last and final thing that I want to talk about quickly is extra rope. I know this probably sounds like a no-brainer to a lot of you, but you don't need extra rope to go backpacking. If you're going in the woods to do some bushcraft stuff, I totally get it. You need some rope, right on, bring it with. But we're talking about backpacking, so I bring 50 foot worth of paracord or Zing It line to hang my bear bag, and that's it. You don't need extra rope. It sounds silly to even have to mention, but I've been out with people before that when I helped them figure out what to bring, they had in their pack this huge bundle of rope, and I asked them what they needed the rope for, and their response was, I don't know. So we left the rope behind and didn't miss it at all. Ditch the rope. Well, that wraps up my rant for today. Remember, if you found any value in this, to hit that like button and consider subscribing. Thanks again for checking out Backcountry Treks, and I'll see you on the next one.